Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. I don't normally wear my hair in a ponytail, so I feel like I keep messing with it, so sorry in advance if I'm focused on my hair a lot. Okay, today we're gonna be doing my January wrap-up, so grab a drink and grab a snack and let's get into the books I read in the month of January. Okay, if you missed it, Joshua, my husband, picked my TBR for the month of January in honor of his birthday. So most of these books were picked by, actually, I think all of them. I think I pretty much stuck to the TBR, which means I have to get some kind of reward. I read everything that he picked and that was all that I read pretty much. So let's get into it. First we started with the next book I had to read in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. This is Love or Avenge, which I think is book number 7, I think, in the series. And there's like over 20 now. We don't have to talk about it, but I am slowly making my way through this world. And this is a paranormal romance series, and it follows a group of vampires called the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and they're kind of like the warriors trying to protect their race because there are lessers, or like vampire slayers, trying to take them out. And this was an interesting one because you get the point of view of a side character for the first time. The other books up until this point have been about the actual like brothers in the Brotherhood, and this is kind of like a side character. So he's the brother to one of the FMCs from the previous books, and he also owns the club that they all go to, and his name is Revenge. And he's an interesting character because he's actually part sympath. So he's half a vampire and half sympath, and sympaths are a totally different species where they can control the emotions of those around them. So it's kind of like forbidden in the vampire race for someone to fraternize with sympaths because of the power that they wield, and they don't exactly get along, the sympaths and the vampires, like historically. So Revenge is kind of like an undercover sympath because he is half vampire, so he can present as a vampire and he kind of like lives among them. And this book starts off with someone propositioning him to kill the leader of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. So you get that whole side plot, plus you get like more about the sympaths, and like you get a lot more of that storyline and not as much about the vampire slayers, which I thought was kind of interesting. I can't believe that J.R. Ward is able to still shock me and still be just so creative and unique with the storyline in this book and with this whole series. The romance was also really good. I did not think I was going to like Revenge or the FMC that was picked for him, but her name was Elena and she is a nurse and she was actually perfect for him. I loved it. I give it 4.5 stars. And it took me a while to read. This is definitely a chunky book. It's like over 700 pages. But yeah, J.R. Ward killed it per usual. I loved it. Then we have the first 6-star book of the year, and I did not think it was going to be a horror book, but here we are. This is a YA horror. It's called No Filter, and I felt very seen reading this. I definitely see why he picked this for me. Basically, the FMC, she is, I mean, I guess I could say amateur photographer, but she technically does it like to make money. Like, she makes bank in the small town that she's from. Everyone uses her for photographing anything. Like, the little pizza shop uses her pictures for their menu, and if someone needs headshots for acting, they go to her. There's like a cosplay group that uses her for their social media. Like, she is the talk of the town. Everyone knows her and her backstory, which unfortunately is a tragic one. She's currently living with her aunt because her father is dead. And I don't remember what happens with her mom. I think the mom like left or died during childbirth, something like that. So she's never really had a mom anyway, and then she was with her dad for a little bit, and now she has to live with her aunt because her dad's recently died. So it's a lot about her grief and kind of processing that. It's a lot about her small town and kind of like how they kind of band together for her. And there's also mental health focus is a big thing in this. The FMC has OCD and she goes to therapy for it. And that is a big plot point that kind of ties into the horror trope. And the horror trope kind of comes into play. You can kind of see here, all of a sudden, our main character, Jinx, starts seeing spots in her photos, and it's driving her crazy because she's very particular about her settings and the lenses that she uses. She's very fastidious about cleaning everything, and she edits everything perfectly. She has a system, she has her routine, everything's down to a science, and she can't figure out why there's these marks on her pictures. And as time goes on, the mark gets bigger and bigger, and it seems like it's getting closer and closer. And then she realizes it's actually a figure that is showing up in her pictures. So goes down a whirlwind, and this was really well done. I technically haven't been clinically diagnosed with OCD, so I can't speak to that aspect of it. But as someone with anxiety, I still feel very seen with how this book was written, how this character was portrayed, and how the horror aspect kind of tied into the mental health rep. I have never seen something so masterfully done like that. And especially to come from a YA book is crazy. Like, this is actually a middle grade. It's ages 8 through 12 is what it's sold for. But yeah, it's heavy, but like in a good way. And this is my first 6-star read of the year, and I couldn't be happier. Amazing. Okay, then we have some not so good news. Next we have Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is another YA, which, as you can see, I have no problem enjoying a YA book, okay? I've enjoyed other YA romances, but this one was a bit strange. So this was Ali Hazelwood's, I think, first and only YA romance that she's written, and this one follows 2 chess players. So you have the female character, her name is Mallory, and she is done with chess. Something happened, you don't really know, at the beginning of the book that kind of got her out of playing chess as a sport, but it basically consumed her whole life, and something terrible happened, so now she's like sworn it off for good. She is not allowing herself to play chess ever again. She doesn't want to associate herself with it. She's just trying to move on and provide for her family, because now she's basically the only caretaker for her mother and her 2 younger sisters. Dad is out of the picture, and the mother is sick, so she has like a work from home job that she can sometimes do, but when her health is not well, she can't really work that much. So the FMC is not going to be going to college or not going to be pursuing anything. She's just working at the local mechanic shop, and she's just trying to sustain her family. Something crazy happens, and she ends up helping her friend out with this like amateur chess competition because she needs someone to close out the team. She's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Her best friend's about to leave for college, so she's like, okay, I will do this for you as our last hurrah together before you leave. But that's it. Like, I'm not doing this. Well, she ends up playing against this guy who's like the heartthrob of the chess world. He's like one of the best in the world, and people find him attractive, so he gets a lot of hype on social media, very trendy, things like that. And he's known for being an asshole, and he's known for being like pretty near unbeatable. He's in this tournament, and she plays against him and wins. So she is now trending as the girl who beat him. It's this whole thing. So she gets approached to join an actual like chess league. So she has to decide, like, am I going to get back into this world again, or am I just going to keep doing what I'm doing? And then it kind of goes from there. So the start of it was really good. I had high hopes. It had potential. Ali Hazelwood does have great humor, and that did translate to this YA demographic, so I wasn't worried there. However, I think the age is just too confusing, because it's almost like Ali Hazelwood mostly writes adult books. Okay, we know this. So I feel like I could tell it was like an adult romance author trying to write a YA book, but it's like the characters were technically adults, but they were like new adults, so like that was also kind of confusing because they were like college aged, but it's almost like they were still behaving as if they were still in high school because they didn't actually go to college. So it's like they didn't have that experience for their maturity to develop, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I feel like it was also like too short in a way. This is less than 300 pages, I think, or maybe like just over 300, something like that. I don't know, the ending felt very rushed, and I was honestly more annoyed and frustrated with the characters than I was like enjoying them and rooting for them. So I gave this a 2.5 star rating. Like, it wasn't terrible, like it definitely had potential, but I think the age range was just too confusing. It's like it wasn't enough of something, or it was like too much of something. I couldn't really put my finger on it. And yeah, the characters just annoyed and frustrated me because of how immature they were with their like emotional development. I guess we can say that. So I don't know, 2.5 stars, not my favorite. Love Hypothesis was way better for me, even though that one wasn't exactly like a 5-star book either. But like Bride and Mate by Ali Hazelwood are still like top tier for me. I feel like her other books have not compared to those, so do with that what you will. Then I went into Unromance by Erin Connor. This one I was scared for a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. This had a slow start. The setup of this one is the FMC is a romance author and the MMC is like this actor heartthrob guy who keeps getting broken heart because he falls too hard too fast, hopeless romantic kind of guy. So they decide to go into an arrangement where she's trying to help break him out of that hopeless romantic ideology by basically shoving romance tropes down his throat until he gets sick of them. So it's a fun setup, okay? But the beginning is a little cheesy, I'm not gonna lie. They do start sleeping together like right away because of, it's like a one night stand thing at first, and then they meet again. And that's when they have like the arrangement. So like they've already slept together when the arrangement starts. I feel like that kind of doesn't help build the tension very much. And I don't know why she doesn't promote this as like a holiday romance of any kind, because this takes place pretty much like throughout all the holidays. So it kind of has like the cheesy holiday activities, like they go ice skating, you know, like the Christmas dinner at somebody's family's house, and like it has all of those kinds of things. I just wasn't in that mood when I was reading this, so I was a little worried at the beginning. The last little bit of the book definitely saved it. I feel like I definitely got the angst and the tension towards the end that was missing in the beginning. That definitely saved it for me. So I ended up rating this a 4-star, which I think is pretty good, pretty well-rounded. I did like the character dynamic. I did. I liked the fact that she was like the jaded romance author who actually didn't really believe in love, and he was the one. It's almost like he was trying to convince her that like, yes, it is real, there are happily ever afters, you can have love, and she was just like, no, I know what I'm talking about, this doesn't work. So I liked that aspect of it. He also ended up surprising me. I ended up relating to him a lot because he actually has a mother who's also in the acting industry, but she's more like soap opera kind of acting. He definitely spent most of his life just like kind of like trying to please her and like be what she wanted. So he kind of falls into that, and I think that's part of why he got his heart broken so many times, is because he just turns into who he thinks he should be. Like, oh, I should be like the dreamy book boyfriend kind of guy, and that's not real. I liked how this was about them actually finding like a real connection with each other. So it redeemed itself by the end, but it is a little bit cheesy in the beginning. And you definitely want to make sure you're in like a Christmassy, wintry mood going into this, because I was not expecting that at all, and it totally threw me for a loop. So keep that in mind. Okay, this is another one. This is actually from Joshua's shelves. So this is one that he thought I would like. He has read it before. And I can see why he thought I would like it, because it definitely has a heavy like romance aspect to it, but it's also kind of like a YA mystery in a sense. Basically in this one, the FMC, it's another photographer, she's out with her friends, and there's this one guy that she ends up talking to, and she's kind of like intrigued by him. So she follows him, takes pictures of him, whatever. Well, she didn't realize is he is escaped from juvie. He is on trial for killing his dad. Basically, he thinks that she took pictures of him because she recognized him from the newspapers and stuff like that. So he is trying to stick around to try and convince her to like delete the pictures. Please don't tell anyone that you saw me, like I'm, you know, whatever. Well, they end up being pretty intrigued by each other. She wants to know more about the case. She starts doing research. So it's definitely had potential. And the rest of the story is basically her trying to figure out, like, okay, did he actually kill his dad, or did somebody else do it? Are they like framing him? Like how can I help him, basically? I did love the fact that she was like holding out hope for him, you know, because he was definitely someone where like no one believed his story. So someone was finally listening to him and like trying to help him out. So obviously that part was really sweet. The way that the mystery came to be, I didn't really like that. So that wasn't my favorite. And then there was kind of like a side plot with her parents separating and stuff like that, and I just thought it was too convenient that her mom for a living literally helps kids get out of like jail when they're wrongly accused of things. I thought that was just like really convenient. So like she conveniently had all these resources for things, and I don't know, it was just too on the nose, I think. And I think this is one that unfortunately you could tell it's YA like in a bad way, where I felt like when it was from the female main character's point of view, while she was kind of more mature, I would say, I think the writing itself and just like, you know, the fact that she was spending so much time talking to her friends about nothing, you know, it felt like stuff that didn't really have to do with the plot. Yeah, I don't know. This one was my favorite. I gave it 2 stars. Sorry, Josh. Okay, it's another one that just really disappointed me. The Heiress Gets a Duke by Harper St. George. I wanted to love it. I even have some tabs at the beginning. Okay, it was starting off good. There was good banter between the characters. You have this heiress to a new company. I don't remember what the company does. It's a historical romance. I think it's set in like the 1800s in New York or something. I don't know. Basically, her family's new money and she's actually part of the business. Like, she's pretty business savvy. And she is the oldest sibling out of... How many sisters does she have? Don't remember. I'm doing such a good job here, you guys. Anyway, I really wanted to love this. Had great banter at the beginning because she is out with one of her friends who recently got put into an arranged marriage, and she kind of like feels bad for her friend. So she's trying to help her live a little and escape from the husband that she's now forced to be with. It's the typical, like, she gets married to this like really old guy and he has like all these restrictions on her or whatever. So she feels for her. She's going out to try and give her a good time. They end up at a fight, like an underground fight, and the main guy fighting, she ends up kissing him. Okay, he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is because he's wearing a disguise. Okay, and he is actually the Duke, and the Duke is recently overseeing his house because his dad recently died, and his dad left a mess. They're in so much debt, all their stuff is messed up, all their books are wrong, so many bad deals were made, and he's trying to salvage his family line because he has two sisters that are about to debut. And he wants to make sure that they are set up for good marriages. He doesn't want his sisters to have to go into loveless marriages with people that, you know, are not good. So he's gonna put himself into a marriage that will benefit the family. So basically, this main character has a younger sister who's supposed to be married off to the Duke. Well, the Duke wants her. The Duke wants her. And when she realizes that the Duke is the underground fighter, she's like, no, absolutely not. You're not marrying him. I refuse. This is not happening. Whatever. But I have to say, the whole like he's betrothed to her sister thing was better done in Bridgerton. I gotta say. The non-communication between these characters was so infuriating. Like, the fact that they wouldn't just talk about how they felt was so annoying. They both wanted to be with each other, and it was very clear that they both loved each other. But she was just so stubborn about not wanting to be married because she thought it would take all of her freedoms away. And he was so stubborn about not realizing the fact that she just wanted her independence. Like, come on. I don't know. It was just really frustrating, I have to say. So it started off good, but very early on he decides, oh, I'm not marrying the sister, I'm gonna marry her. So you're like, okay. And then they basically spend all of this is just them arguing about whether they should get married or not. I'm sorry. It was just too much for me. I gave it a 2 stars. I don't know. I also listened to the audio and it was just a female narrator, so I don't know if that also like didn't make it as enjoyable for me. I don't know. I'm gonna try the next one. If you saw my February TBR video, I am gonna try the next book on audio before I give up on the series and this author entirely, because like I said, the banter at the beginning was good and there were some good lines that I highlighted. So like, it could work. It could. We'll see. Okay, then I just want to like throw this against the wall. All right, Peace of Sparks, book 2, Thorn Chapel series by Sierra Simone. The first book, you're basically following a group of friends that have been reunited as adults. The last time they were all together, they were kids at Thorn Chapel, which is like this gothic estate in the UK that has all this like history and like magical lore around it. It's not a fantasy by any means. It's still like real life. There isn't actual magic that goes on. It's more so like just like the history of like different like rituals that were performed there and things like that. So they're trying to recreate all of these rituals. So they're trying to figure out what happened to their parents back in the day at this estate, because the FMC in the first book, her mom has been missing for like her entire life and she's trying to figure out what's going on. I devoured the first book and I did devour this book too. I actually gave this book a 4.5 stars, okay? I did not hate this book whatsoever. You can see how many tabs I have. I love these characters. This one focused more on the male main characters, which I appreciated because the main romance is between the two mailman characters, Auden and Saint Sebastian, and the FMC Proserpina. I also hate that name. Proserpina, I think is her name. Sorry, I'm so salty right now. Breathe. You definitely want to read the trigger warnings at the beginning of the second book before you start the series. I'm just going to say that. I've decided not to continue this series because of one of the trigger warnings in this book. That's all I'm going to say. Other than that, I'm obsessed. I love the vibes. I love the setting. I love the characters. The BDSM, like, kink dynamic. Sierra Simone always does that really well. The way she writes about the angst and the pain and everything these characters go through, and just like the years that they spend not being able to be together, like, she does it really well. I love Sierra Simone, but I don't know why she made the decision that she did for how this book ended. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I can't. So with the way this book ended, it is one of the triggers at the beginning. So I ended up looking it up of how the other books in the series go down, and I'm mad. And I am unhauling the other two books in this series. So do with that what you will. Okay, moving on to better topics of conversation. Next was the book club book, Goodnight Beautiful. I don't have a physical copy. This is our book club pick for January. It's a thriller by Amy Malloy. I gave this 5 stars. This was great. If you want to see our full thoughts, you can join, or you can watch the live show. I will link it. But basically, the setup of this one is that the male main character is a therapist, and the female main character is his new wife, and she's like the bored housewife. And they have just moved to a small town, basically back to his hometown, to help take care of his mom. She's like in a facility, whatever. And he has a home office, and she's clearing out some of the stuff upstairs, and she realizes there's a vent that she can hear all of his sessions. So that's kind of the setup. And the husband ends up going missing, so the wife then has to figure out like what happened to the husband. Amazing. So many plot twists I did not expect. Kind of a lot of like tropes that relate to romance books. So if you're a romance girly, I think this is a thriller that you would definitely enjoy. It's less than 300 pages. Great pacing. I read it in like 24 hours. I loved it. Really good. So much happens, but it doesn't feel rushed. Like, it feels like everything gets explained. You learn so much about the characters, and the whole like therapy, psychology aspect of it I found really fascinating. And yeah, this is a great book club pick. I loved it. If you want to hear more, the live show is linked for you. We're going into the 2 series I'm in the middle of that are going to kind of roll into February. If you saw my February TBR, I talked about them. We have the Romancing the Clarksons series by Tessa Bailey. So these are the 2 I've already read. I've already read, well, I read book 1 a couple years ago. Too Hot to Handle, I think it's called. This was book 2, Too Wild to Tame, and then book 3, Too Hard to Forget. So let's start with Too Wild to Tame. So far this has been my least favorite of the series, but it was still really solid. I gave it 3.5 stars. This one, the MMC, I knew I wasn't going to be a fan of him because he's like in the politician kind of world. Like, he wants to work for a senator. And then you have Grace. She's actually the daughter of the senator, but Aaron doesn't know that when he first meets her. He literally meets her like in the woods because she's escaping from the school that this like big political event is going to happen at the next day. He basically tells her like, okay, you owe me a favor because I'm not going to tell people that I saw you here. So she's like, okay, I'll do something for you. So she gets him into the event to meet the senator. He doesn't know how, but it's because she's the senator's daughter. The romance kind of goes off from there. So I didn't really like him very much, but I loved the female character. I feel like she honors every wild child inside all of us, and I love her. And she turns Aaron into like the ultimate simp, so she's queen. So yeah, the plot was pretty skim worthy. Like I said, I didn't really care that much about the whole political aspect of things. And there is like a backstory with Grace and how she had to go to this like camp when she was growing up, and there was this like tragedy that happened. So you're kind of learning about that too. I don't know, for some reason the plot didn't really intrigue me, but I did just love these 2 characters together. So that's why I settled on like a 3.5 star. But the third book, this was 5 stars. Too Hard to Forget. This is Peggy, the youngest sibling, and just to give you I guess I should have started with this, my bad. This whole series, Romancing the Clarksons, it's following these siblings that are on a road trip because they're trying to fulfill the last wish that their mom, who recently passed away, had for them. She left this journal for them, and she left these letters for them, and she basically wants them to all go on this road trip together because the siblings are not close. So she's like, this is my last wish is I want you all to go on this road trip together and to jump into the ocean on New Year's Day. I don't know why. The mom's weird. She's crazy. But they're all going to do it for her, even though none of them have really been close recently. So it's kind of about the siblings reconnecting, but also each sibling finding their love story along the way as they're going like cross country from California to New York. So like you have the first female main character, I think she gets off somewhere in like Arkansas, that kind of area. And then you have like the politician guy, he gets off somewhere like Iowa, something like that. And then you have this FMC who is going to get off somewhere in, I think it's Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where she went to college, because this was the football coach at the college that she went to. She was a cheerleader. There is a bit of an age gap here. She was in her early 20s. She was in her senior year of college when they had their first hookup. The way that Tessa Bailey did age gap, I think, is amazing, and this is probably the best example of depth that I've read so far in Tessa Bailey's backlog. Tessa Bailey is known for being more of like a rom-com-y, smutty kind of author, okay? But this definitely packs a punch in terms of unpacking trauma, actually. Trauma that can come from a smutty relationship like these two had back when she was in college. It was more so like she was the forbidden fruit, okay? She was the sinful hookup that he was almost like ashamed of, okay? Like every time they had sex, he would basically make some kind of comment like, you know, how he had to confess for his sin, or like praying to God, or he had to make a comment about like how forbidden she was, okay? Which, nothing wrong with that in the bedroom if that's your kink, right? It was an agreed upon thing between them. She loved it, he loved it, it was great while it lasted. Well, what she didn't realize is it kind of made her look at herself in a bad light, and the relationship did not last at that time. He ended things and she was heartbroken. Since they have left each other years ago, she has been engaged 3 times, like 3 or 4 times, and has broken off all those engagements. So the point of this trip going back to him is to kind of like, I guess like get closure, or she's hoping to kind of like ruin things for him. So I guess a way of getting like revenge on him in a way, and she thinks it'll help her move on. So you start off this book not really liking her intentions because she seems kind of vapid and immature. Like she's gonna like use her body to like trick him to fall for her again. I don't know, it definitely doesn't seem redeeming at first, but you end up seeing how that dynamic is exposed in their reunion. I think as someone who reads smutty romance a lot, this is very eye-opening because it kind of exposes the dark side of what some of those kinks can do if it's not handled properly. And Tessa Bailey totally called out us as romance readers and romance authors everywhere in a good way. Like I said, it didn't make me feel like bad or shameful or anything. It was just very eye-opening, and I was like, wait, let me take a step back and like think about this, like how this could actually affect somebody in real life like Peggy, you know? It was really interesting. You also have an interesting backstory because he's actually a single dad, which I didn't know until going into this book, because his previous wife passed away and he kind of blames himself for it because he was kind of neglectful. He is like sole focus for most of his life was football. Like he put so much pressure on himself. He wasn't really very present at home with his wife and his daughter. The daughter is in middle school now, and I loved her character in this book a lot. I think that she talked a lot of sense into both main characters, and it was great to watch. So I could go on and on. I'm already a huge Tessa Bailey stan, but now I have even more respect for her as an author because this book and book 4 I haven't finished yet. I literally just started it, but I already know that one's gonna be a doozy as well. Like that one's gonna wreck me. It's gonna wreck me. She pulled out all the punches for this, and I'm very impressed with her range. Now that I'm reading more of her backlog, very impressed. I would say if you haven't read anything by Tessa Bailey, normally I recommend like her, she has so many great books, she really does. But honestly, I think you should start with Romancing the Clarksons. I feel like this is the perfect example of Tessa Bailey as an author with her range, because she can do angst really well, but I feel like the more popular books don't have as much angst. It's more about the humor and the sex or whatever. So I feel like this series has a really good range of her abilities. So I'm really enjoying it. And finally, we have the Kingdom of the Wicked series. This is a trilogy. I was gonna save this for February. If you saw my TBR video, it was one of the books I picked. But I actually got on Libby, they had the omnibus of all 3 books, and for like the Kindle version, and I got it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. So I'm already on book 2. Book 1 was definitely a 5-star. I don't want to give my full thoughts until I'm done with the whole trilogy, but so far I'm definitely loving the world. It's very like witchy, but you also have like the 7 deadly sins and like the princes of hell characters, and they're all like demons. And then you have the FMC, who's a witch, and her family is like a long line of witches, and you're finding out about like all this history between the princes of hell and the witch covens of this area. And there's like this curse that like the first witch put on the demons, and now they're like all wrapped up in it trying to figure out what happened. You have dark magic, you have light magic. There are witches being murdered and their hearts are being like ripped out of their chests, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. It sounds like one of the princes of hell has to do like an arranged marriage situation that's going to be revealed at some point. I don't know where this series is going to go, but I am definitely here for it. I'm loving it, and yeah, I can't wait to read the rest. I'll give you more information in my February wrap up when I read the other 2 books, but so far so good. I'm enjoying it. This is a YA fantasy, romantasy, but it's really impressing me so far, I have to say. I just love how unique the setup is, because I like how it's kind of giving me like paranormal demon witch vibes, and it even has like shifters in it too as like side characters, which is kind of cool. But it's also giving like romantasy vibes, you know, where there's like a prophecy and she's like trying to figure out what's going on and save the world, and you know, it's great. I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'll keep you posted on the other books. But yeah, that was everything. That was a lot. That was everything that I read in the month of January. So thank you guys for joining me. Give this video a like. Leave a comment down below telling me a book that you really loved this month. And be sure to subscribe so you can see my next video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.